It's wonderful. There's a great, absolutely great fish marinade, which a lot of people don't think about marinating fish, but there's a great fish marinade that I make with bourbon and lemon juice. Olive oil, bourbon, and lemon juice. Put your fish in it for an hour or so. Discard the marinade, cook your fish however you're going to. Fantastic. But it's for more than drinking. I don't drink really at all. Occasional glass of wine. I know a lot of people do. I mean, I don't have anything against drinking, I just don't. But it's worth having alcohol around to cook with and marinate with and all those things. So it's at my house all the time. Even though I don't drink it, it's always there. You'll notice on this recipe, it says fresh thyme and fresh oregano. What I have today, I don't really have any thyme. I have oregano. This is dried. Typically, usually I'll use more dried than I do fresh. Fresh tends to have more oils and more freshness and more flavor than it does dried. So typically I'll add a little bit more. So if you see me adding a little bit more of this than what you might think I would, that's going to be the reason. One thing that I am going to do, and I'm going to show you how I differ things a little bit with this. This is roasted mushrooms. Now why did I pick roasted mushrooms? First of all, there's usually a list, and I put it online sometimes, of things that you probably should be eating that you might not be. One of the things we're going to get to here in just a little bit. One of them is mushrooms. Mushrooms really get a bad rep. Mushrooms are like eggs. You know, eggs one month are great for you, the next month they kill you. The next month they're good for you, the next month they kill you. Mushrooms the same way. Oh, mushrooms are terrible. They're like a potato. Oh, there's nothing good in them. And then the next time you read an article on, oh, they're great and they have vitamins and they have this and this and this. Mushrooms are very versatile. They do have, I'm going to guess, Jessica might know, I think it's vitamin A.
What?
Right off the mushroom. Or maybe it's D.
I think it's A.
Okay. I'm not a huge vitamin guy, but I know that they're good for you. We're going to talk about a little bit more chopping when we get to later in the class. Basically all I'm doing is trying to cut these onions up small. In my book it talks about different chops. Why do I need to chop things differently? Why do I need different sizes? What you want to show in a recipe is determined usually by the size of what you're using. For instance, I want a lot of garlic in a recipe. So I'm going to take this garlic clove and I'm going to smash it flat as a pancake with a knife blade, and then I'm going to chop it from there and I'm going to put it in and I'm going to cook it for 5 minutes. It's not going to show. I just pulverized it into a tiny piece, then I chopped it into an even tinier piece, and then I cooked it so long I rendered all the oils out of it. If I really want garlic, I'd drop this thing in there right now and I'd cook it like this. Onions are the same way. Peppers are the same way. The smaller the pieces, the less flavor you're going to end up with if you cook. So here I say, I really want just a little bit of onion. I don't want a lot. If I wanted a lot, I'd cut it in half and drop it in there. If I wanted a little less than that, I would put one of these in there. By the way, these are called half moons. If you're ever cutting anything round, any vegetable, yellow squash, zucchini, onions, anything, if you cut it and you cut that across, you get what's called a half moon. In technical chopping terms, that's a half moon. So I could drop that in there. This would have a lot more flavor than this would. I don't want a lot of this flavor in here, so I'm going to the smaller dice on these. It talks, like I said, it talks about that in the book. This is just sort of some light chopping. I'm not trying to cut this into tiny pieces. I could if I wanted. It would be pretty easy. I'll show you that technique later. If I forget, somebody please remind me, because there is a possibility that I will. This is a butane stove. You can pick the stove up on eBay for $20. You can get a case of the cans of gas for it for $30. If you camp, if you ever cook out, this is the single best thing ever. If you have ever cooked on an old propane stove that takes forever to heat up, and you pump it and you do this and you do that, this thing is fantastic. It's 0 to hot in 2 seconds. It's awesome. Like I said, I picked it up on eBay, I think $20 for this, and the whole case of the cans that have lasted me in cooking classes 3 years for $36. I've got $50-some in the whole setup. I have a little bit of oil here. Gonna add that. That's already getting hot. Now, if you do, Shawn Keeton with Keeton in the Kitchen told me butane stoves are awesome. So I'm gonna buy one. This is gonna be great. And then I'm gonna take my wife, boyfriend, and my own best skillet out, and I'm gonna stick it on there. And I'm gonna cook with it. You're going to cook with it, all right, and you're going to cook the bottom of your skillet. This is not the place for your best pots and pans or skillets. This thing is so instantly hot and it blackens the bottom of it. This is a place for a skillet that you kind of don't like anymore, but you don't want to throw away. This is it. This is where that goes.
What about cast iron?
Cast iron does okay with it. Again, it gets almost too hot for cast iron immediately. It does okay, but you're going to have to re-oil your cast iron a lot because it takes the temper out of it. It unseasons it in some ways. So I do cast iron. I have a little cast iron skillet that I take whenever we go camping that I put on here. It's a little baby one. Perfect for little baby stuff. But it's pretty hard on it. My big ones don't go on this. So I've got this oil heated up. That was just a little olive oil. So you can tell that's already sizzling. And that was just on there 60 seconds. So you see how hot that got. An electric stove would take twice that. This is going along. Now, two questions that I get a lot, not all the time, because I touched on those when I first started. Two questions that I get a lot. How do I flip things in a skillet, and how do I chop like I work at Benihana? Very common questions. I don't flip many things in a skillet anymore. That came from tearing a ligament in my arm when I was flipping some stuff in a cast iron skillet to show everybody how great an idea that was. Wham! Oh, it tears the ligament. I got to have surgery to have it rebuilt. So I don't flip things in a skillet, but the technique is you have to flip things with your wrist. If you want to flip with this skillet, you get a high-sided skillet and you flick it with your wrist. So that's how you impress all your friends with flicking things in a skillet when they come over and you're doing it like you're at the restaurant. You just flick it with your wrist, just like that. If I were going to do it, it would be just like that. The onions are going in here, you can kind of start to smell them. They get aromatic 30, 45 seconds, something like that. If I take these onions and I caramelize them, which is turn them brown, they're going to take on a totally different flavor. Caramelized onions are totally different than cooked onions, so I don't really want to caramelize these, so I kind of want to move them around a lot. If you have a spatula, which I should have somewhere, I don't know where it's at presently, you can move them around with that. Don't let that caramelize.
I think it's right there behind you.
Pardon? I have a wooden one. Ah, there it is. Thank you. I knew I'd put that somewhere. I didn't remember it. There it is. I don't cook, if possible, with plastic. This is bamboo. It's renewable. It's good for the environment, and it doesn't leach out into every single thing I'm cooking. So, if you're wondering why I use wood, typically that's why. I don't use a food processor hardly ever. I won't say never because that's an absolute, and I try and stay out of absolutes, but I cut everything with my knives and all that. So I've got this going on. There's some garlic in here. Now, if I want my garlic to show, let me cut the tips off this. I've already peeled it. 7 seconds in a microwave if you're looking for an easy way to peel your garlic. They make a little silicone garlic peeler that I usually have. I don't have it with me right now. I don't think. 7 seconds in a microwave, the peels fall right off. So if you want a quick way to peel it, just put it in there for 7 seconds. I'm just going to slice this. I don't want very much because it'll take on too garlicky. So I put about 4 or 5, about half a clove. Garlic cloves last a long time. Buy them at the store. Keep them in your fridge. They last forever. Now that's gotten a little hot, and these onions are kind of starting. You see that? They're kind of starting to caramelize a little bit. It's not bad. I don't want them all turning brown, but okay. So now you really start to smell that garlic. 20 to 30 seconds, maximum garlic flavor. Beyond that, we're on the downswing. We're on the downside. So I'm going to add these mushrooms in there. I could cut these. They're already sliced. I'm not going to go to the trouble of cutting them. A lot of people are what I call back themselves into a corner when they're cooking. Usually it happens at the most stressful times too. Christmas, Thanksgiving. What I mean by back yourself into a corner, your family's on their way. Trust me, I know how this goes. And your wife's got a flat tire, and you've got 15 things you're trying to do last minute. Missed it. That's about 14 things I've missed tonight. So you're going, that's okay, I've got 3 hours. Well, no, I don't, because I just spent an hour going to get my wife, whose tire's flat, and then I come home and I've got an hour. Usually, I could save a couple of coins by buying these whole and slicing them myself. For this, I didn't. If it's a stressful time, if it's a big party, if it's a big crowd, I'm going to buy the slice. Sometimes it's good to save money. Sometimes it's good to spend money. And right here, if you can keep this sort of intact, that's a good way to spend money. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be stressed, and then you're going to knock those out, both sides of your skillet. I've got the skillet a little too full, so that's a good way to spend money. If it's going to save me mentally, that's money well spent. I'm going to go ahead and buy these so that way if something does happen last minute, I don't have to spend 15 minutes chopping up mushrooms, getting out the food processor, making more dishes for myself, etc., etc. So that's going along. Again, I don't have wine, but I do have, look at these cute little containers. Isn't that the cutest? We got those somewhere on sale. I did save money on those. I'm going to add some tomato paste to this. Adds a little flair. Adds a little flavor. I don't have wine. Oh, no, he didn't. Yeah, I did. Because I can get extra flavor out of that. So I'll put that in there. Again, mushrooms. You don't think of mushrooms typically as a true side dish.
And what did you just add?
Pardon?
What is that?
That was balsamic vinegar, which I used in place of the wine. So I come through here. I make you typically have carrots. You have honey carrots. There's a great recipe in the book that it might even be on my website. Like I said, I don't go to the website much, but yeah, it might be on there. Horseradish carrots. If you like horseradish, it's a cream sauce. You add carrots to it. You bake it. It's fantastic. Another example of how